So before we start, I like to introduce myself. My name is Aravind and I'm a product specialist at ManageEngine. So I'm going to be the presenter for this month's edition of Patch Tuesday. Patch Tuesday updates for the month January 2019. So as we all know, we have finally stepped into a new year, 2019, and this is the first month. And this year, let's have a positive approach towards life, guys. So, whatever life gives us, stay strong and fight that back. When life gives you lemons, don't make lemonades. Make life take back those lemons and demand what you wish. Either wine or tequila, that's your go. So, with this notion, we wish you a very happy, safe, and a bug free new year. So this is going to be a quick 45-minute session where we will be looking into various aspects like the security, non-security, and the third-party applications for which updates have been released for this month's patch Tuesday. And this is going to be the flow for this webinar. So we were seeing about the agenda here. So we were discussing about the best practices to secure your network using patch management tools. And that's not completely it. We'll also be taking questions from you guys. So if you have any questions at any point of time during the presentation, please feel free to shoot me your questions via chat. We have an expert panel here, and they'll be very much glad to help you out in real time. With that being said, let's quickly get into the session. So we all know what Meltdown and Spectre was, right? So it was the same time of the year. To be precise, it was January 3, 2018. And many organizations were still recovering at that time from the huge blow the ransomwares inflicted. So I mean the ransomwares. WannaCry and NotPetya, and it is roughly estimated that it inflicted nearly a damage of more than 4 billion US dollars. That's a huge amount, guys. So during that time, during January 2018, many of the organizations were still recovering from the attacks. So this was when Google's Project Zero broke news that they discovered a vulnerability in the computer processors. So at first, many thought these flaws were just like other vulnerabilities seen in the past. But that's when researchers reported the estimate of the vulnerability's extent and its potential. They estimated that this vulnerability might be present in each and every computer built after 1995. Yes, you heard that right. Every single computer processor since 1995. So this sums up to more than 1 billion computers. And you might be wondering what this vulnerability can do. Well, this vulnerability found in the speculative execution part of the processor could allow any malicious application or software to exploit sensitive data like your password, credit card details, and much more. The researchers then named two variants, Meltdown and Spectre, based on how they exploit the vulnerability. Meltdown takes advantage of a specific Intel privilege escalation issue, whereas Spectre uses a combination of speculative execution and caching. So, for all of you guys who don't know what speculative execution and caching mean, speculative execution is a simple process that helps processors execute a task faster by predicting which branch will be executed. So what it does is it will learn your pattern of work. So what it does is it tries to save your time, process faster, so it predicts your next move. This is where all the problem starts. The vulnerability is in that portion, speculative execution portion of the processor. And caching, It is very much similar to speculative execution, and it is a simple technique to speed up memory access. So you might have heard people say that clear browsers, cache memory, and um, clear up your phone's memory to speed up your phone. Clear up your phone's cache memory to speed up your phone. So what it does is cache stores memory in a computer or phone's RAM portion. RAM is simply stands for random access memory. So it is simply a technique to speed up memory access. So as I told you, Spectre uses speculative execution and caching to access information that is being computed by the processor, while Meltdown undermines the separation between computer applications. You may wonder, it's 2019, right? Should I still have to worry about Meltdown and Spectre? The answer is yes. You have to be a bit cautious about this. The reason is there are actually 7 variants of Meltdown and Spectre discovered as of now, and many are still being discovered. Since these are hardware flaws, they won't be completely gone until the newest generation of processors are available. So, 2019 or not, Meltdown and Spectre can still haunt you. So you may ask, among these two, which one is more dangerous, Meltdown or Spectre? We would say both Meltdown and Spectre are considered dangerous. However, according to Daniel Gruss, one of the researchers at Graz University who discovered the vulnerability, Meltdown, he states that uh, it is one of the worst CPU bugs ever found, and it can use any application that's running on your system to steal your data, including, as I told you, credit card information, bank details, your personal phone number, and everything. So Meltdown can be a more serious problem, and Spectre, on the other hand, is hard to exploit. I have to agree to that. It's hard to exploit, but it is tough to patch too. So this poses a serious problem. So what's the bottom line? Both of these vulnerabilities pose a great threat. So you'd have seen operating system and application vendors like Microsoft, there was Adobe, and several chip manufacturing companies like Intel, AMD coming up with random updates as soon as Meltdown and Spectre broke loose. So they actually help prevent, Meltdown. But Spectre, I would say that's a different story. So, isn't there any solution to these vulnerabilities? You may wonder. As of now, there's only a handful of solutions to counter these vulnerabilities. This includes, updates from chip manufacturers like, as I told you, AMD, Intel, ARM chips, so and other operating system vendors like BIOS updates and driver updates would help prevent attackers from using these vulnerabilities. So there's also another possible solution to it. Keep all your endpoints updated. So it is good not only for these kind of vulnerabilities, but in a long term, in a long run, it will be helpful to you. So I recently read a news that Intel is coming up with a new generation of processors. I think that's Intel 10th generation, I think, Core i9 10th generation, and they are expected to be safe from these side channel attacks. That's a good news. That's a relief, don't you think? So what did we learn from Meltdown Inspector? Was it any takeaway? So the thing is this. The discovery of Meltdown and Spectre simply reminds us that no computer in this world is completely safe. Even though these vulnerabilities can't be completely fixed, following some industry best practices could give you an edge over others. So they are as follows. Number one, as I told you, always keep your system updated. This means both software and hardware updates. Hardware include firmware updates, BIOS updates, and similar kind of stuff. And point number two, address critical vulnerabilities as early as possible by using some kind of automated patch deployment tools. And point number three, stay updated with the major news in the cybersecurity domain. So it's totally up to you. You have to be, a bit updated with the latest happening in the cyber world too. So when Meltdown and Spectre broke loose, many didn't know that these kind of vulnerabilities existed. So neither do they now, but it is always a good point. I mean, a good way to get updated. You keep yourself updated with the latest happenings. So actually, we are running a cybersecurity quiz, guys. So do you think you're good with cybersecurity news and the happenings? So try out our quiz and stand a chance to win a $100 Amazon gift card. So the link will be sent through the chat box below. So what I'll tell you is, please use this opportunity and test out your knowledge on cybersecurity, and you will also win a $100 Amazon gift card. That's a bonus, right? So this is all about the Meltdown Inspector, guys. Actually, we want to cover it a bit elaborately, a bit in detail, but considering that we have Patch Tuesday updates and the best practices for Patch Tuesday left, we are cutting it short. Next up, so we'll be looking what's hot on cybersecurity. The first news here is how Microsoft delivers problematic updates repeatedly. So it seems like a trend with Microsoft updates, as it is the third time in a row that Microsoft has pulled the updates back. Reportedly, it has pulled January 2019 updates due to a glitch in Microsoft Excel, which caused the app to crash. So this happened after users in Japan began facing issues using Excel 2010. So the state of the patch is still being rolled back, and there are no, official confirmation from Microsoft on when the patches will be pre-released. The second news is regarding, hacks of some famous people, infamous people, I would say. So the personal information of German Chancellor Angela Merkel, as well as those of hundreds of other politicians, have been released publicly. The leaked information includes credit card details, mobile phone numbers, and other sensitive information. After being published on Twitter, the account associated with the hacks has since been removed, and the validity of the exposed information is questioned. So this is all about the news part, guys. This is all trending on cybersecurity. Actually, this month we don't have much to talk about. Last month we had a lot of cybersecurity news that needed to be covered, but this month there are only a handful of happenings. Next, I'll be discussing about the zero-day vulnerability that got patched for January 2019. Actually, there's only one zero day. So this month, Microsoft has addressed a remote code execution vulnerability in JET database engine that's been publicly disclosed and rated critical. So this month's Microsoft update resolves the security issue of the Windows JET database engine improperly handling objects in memory. So as we see, this as a remote code execution vulnerability, and it could lead to, if it is successfully exploited, it could lead to improperly handling objects in memory. And the CVE number is, if you're looking forward to patch CVE number, this patch, the CVE number is CVE 2018 0579. I repeat, guys, CVE 2018 0579. Please make a note of it. And even better, you can ask our expert panel regarding this, and they will be, helping you out with the CVA number. So next up, I have some notable announcements. Before jumping into the patches that got released for this month's Patch Tuesday, I'll be announcing some notable bits. So this is regarding the end of life cycle of Windows 10. So for Windows 10 version 17.09, this is going to be expired by April 9 of 2019. So if you are currently on that particular version, we would recommend you to upgrade it to the latest version of Windows to continue enjoying updates from Microsoft. So this is the total number of patches, guys. There are nearly 238 patches released in January 2019 alone by Desktop Central to combat various vulnerabilities and bugs. This is a split up of patches. So as you can see here, there are nearly 51 vulnerabilities addressed this month. So we would say 48 were from Microsoft and the rest were from Adobe, of which nearly 11 were rated critical. Next up, I have the split up of patches based on the impact they create. So topping the list is remote code execution. So there are nearly 23 patches addressed to fix remote code execution vulnerability, and it is followed by information disclosure and elevation of privilege, contributing to nearly 11 patches each. So next up, we'll be looking into the patches based on severity. So what I have is I have a split up of patches based on the severity. So topping the list is ranked as important, and it contributes to nearly 76.5 percentage, and nearly 13.7 percentage are rated critical. Next, I have a list of applications affected. So Windows is topping the list with 27 patches released to address various vulnerabilities, and it is followed by Microsoft Office, Edge, and a few other applications here. So I have the total application list. As you can see, there is Microsoft Office, Windows, Microsoft Edge, Internet Explorer, Visual Studio, .NET Framework, Exchange Server, and finally Adobe Flash Player. So we'll be looking into each and every application and operating system in detail. So as you can see, the patches released for Microsoft Office is regarded as important, and the impacts might be cross-site scripting, remote code execution, elevation of privilege, and information disclosure. So these are all can be found. These can be found in these components like the SharePoint server, and that bug in SharePoint server might affect in web request sanitization. And we can see there's one in Microsoft Word which affects the security context of the current user, performing actions in the security context of the current user. So these are all the list of CVE guys. So if you're looking forward to patch Microsoft Office, please make a note of it. So what I'll do is I'll wait for like 5 to 10 seconds for you to note that down, or take a snapshot, because last month many have requested me that to go with the CV details a bit slow. So I'll wait for 5 seconds for you guys to note that down, or you can also contact our ping our expert panel, and they will be able to provide you all the CV details. Okay, I think you're done with the CV IDs. Moving to the next part. Here is the exploit assessment for Microsoft Office. So an attacker successfully performs, who successfully exploits this vulnerability in Microsoft Office could perform cross-site scripting attacks, run arbitrary code, execute malicious code, compromise users' data, and disclose sensitive information. So, if you had been following our previous Patch Tuesday webinars, you might know what these exploit assessments are linked with. So the second one, running arbitrary code, is the end result of remote code execution. So among all the impacts that we have listed, uh, it can be information disclosure, remote code elevation of privilege, denial of service, remote code execution. The last one, the remote code execution, is the dangerous one, guys. So if you find some vulnerability that addresses remote code execution, please patch it ASAP. Next, I have Microsoft Windows. So patches that got released for Microsoft Windows is regarded as critical and important. The impacts are memory corruption, remote code execution, elevation of privilege, and information disclosure. These can be found in these components, and here are all the list of CVIDs. You can see that there are nearly 27 CVIDs as we have saw. Sorry, I'm so sorry, guys. I'm so sorry. So here are all the exploit assessments. So an attacker who successfully exploits this vulnerability in Microsoft Windows could send specially crafted requests to the clients and run specially crafted application, run arbitrary code in context of the current user, and much more. And next, we'll be seeing what's with Microsoft Office. It is also regarded as an important, critical update, and the impact is remote code execution, elevation of privilege, and hosting specially crafted websites. These are all the components, and the list of CVE IDs are here. As I said to you, I'll hold the slide for 5 minutes. 5 seconds for you guys to note these CVE IDs down. If you're done with that, please if you don't feel like you noting it down, please ask our expert panel. They'll be helping you out. So the next is the exploit assessment for Microsoft Edge, that is arbitrary code execution. Next, we'll be talking about its elder sibling, Microsoft Internet Explorer, and the severity that has been given for Internet Explorer is critical, moderate, and low. And the impact is remote code execution. These are all the components, and here comes the CVIDs. There are only three CVIDs: CVE 2019 0545, 0548, 0564. And here comes the exploit assessment. As we can see, there is arbitrary code execution, which is the end result of remote code execution and hosting malicious websites. Next up, I have Visual Studio, Microsoft Visual Studio, and it's been regarded as an important update, and the impact of missing it is elevation of privilege, remote code execution, and information disclosure. CVE IDs are listed here. That is CVE 2019 0537, CVE 2019 0546. And here comes the exploit assessment. Next, Exchange Server, severity, important, impacts, remote code execution, and information disclosure. So with these impacts, can you please guess what the exploit assessments would be? Please think of it. That would be, executing arbitrary codes. You got that right. Next, finally, we have Adobe Flash Player, which is a third-party player, and it's been regarded as critical. And the impact of missing it might be, remote code execution. So, is this all it? You might ask. Yes, it's all about the patches that got released for Microsoft Patch Tuesday, January 2019. Here are all the, non-security, third-party, and the Mac updates. And next, I have a saying here. I mean, I have a split up of vulnerabilities year after year, and we can see that that trend is going upwards. The red color here indicates the year 2017, and we can see that there are nearly 14,000 patches, vulnerabilities detected. And the orange color indicates 2018, and the number which we have here, 12,400, is just for the first half of 2018. Actually, the whole complete 2018 must be listed down here. Next time, we will make sure that the whole report of 2018 is listed. So, as expected, cybersecurity in 2019 will continue to be a major concern for IT enterprises worldwide. So, all these reports, all these data charts may suggest that patching has become a serious business. It is indeed. So, if you are an IT administrator who is looking for a patching solution, let me give you a piece of advice. So the patching solution that you're about to opt in must A, support multiple operating systems. When I mean multiple operating systems, I mean all the major operating systems like Windows, Mac, Linux, and not just that, and some major third-party applications as well. And B, support all your endpoints. So the endpoints, not just the systems in your local office, but the endpoints located all across the globe. So overall, the patching solution that you're about to opt in must get your endpoints patched irrespective of its location, operating system, or operating system flavor. And patching all these multiple operating systems can be a complex process if you don't find an automatic and a simple solution. So ManageEngine offers complete automation for two products. One is Desktop Central and another one is Patch Manager Plus. So Desktop Central is a complete endpoint management solution, whereas Patch Manager Plus has its expertise in patching. So please note that both Desktop Central and Patch Manager Plus support all major operating systems and more than 300 third-party applications. Yes, guys, more than 300 third-party applications. So we were talking about complete automation, right? We call that automated patch deployment, APD. So let me just quickly take you guys into the Patch Manager Plus console. So just give me a minute. This is the console, guys. This is how the Patch Manager Plus looks like. So if you're using Desktop Central, please don't worry. Desktop Central is has all is a complete endpoint management solution. As I told you, Patch Manager Plus is just a console, just a module of Desktop Central. So all the feature of Patch Manager Plus will be available in Desktop Central as well. So don't you worry. So this is the homepage of Patch Manager Plus. We can see that there are several informative graphs here. One denoting network status, another system health, and down here we can see one with missing patches. And there are several graphs, guys. Not just that, not just some colorful, funky graphs. We have latest security news feed as well. To your right, we have latest security news feed. So what it does is, it shows you with all the latest happenings in the cyber world. So recall Meltdown and Spectre, and how I told you to be updated with the latest happenings. This will help you do that. So without talking much, let's quickly get into automated patch deployment. It is located under the deployment tab here. So we can see that there's an option called automate patch deployment just under Test Runner Pro. Click on that. Clicking on that will take you to a page where all the automated tasks will be listed. All the scheduled tasks, all the ongoing process will be listed. So what you should do is click on this option called automate task. So you will be given with an option to automate patches for Windows, Mac, and Linux separately. So I'm opting in for the Windows one. Once you click on Windows, you'll be taken to another page where you'll be shown with 4 different tabs. The first tab is selecting applications. This is where you guys tell us what are all the applications that needed to be patched. As I've selected Windows, we can see there is Microsoft and third-party updates here. You can further select Microsoft applications based on the severities or type of updates. Like Microsoft has some weird, list of updates like service packs, roll-ups, optional updates, feature packs. So you can select your desired, type, and you can select severity as well. It applies for third-party updates too. And enabling this option for definition update will enable definition update for third-party, antivirus. So click on next. Clicking on next will take you to the next stage, which is choosing deployment policy. So this is where you guys tell us how these patches must be deployed. Say selecting a policy called weekend policy. So weekend policy states that the deployment will be carrying only during the weekends, and the deployment window will be open from this particular time to this time. And that's not completely it. And the deployment will be initiated either during the system startup or refresh cycle, whichever happens first. So you also get an option called suspend task after. Enable this and you'll be given with a calendar. Select a particular date. Say I'm selecting 24th of January 2019. What it means is that this particular task that you're about to create will be suspended after 24th January. So click on next. The third stage is defining targets. This is where you guys tell us what are all the endpoint targets. So which computers must be patched. So here you can either select a remote office or a domain. So what I'm doing here is I'm selecting my domain, which is Zoho Corp. You can see Zoho Corp listed down here. Select this and you also get an option to filter this down a bit further. Select this and you will be given with 2 options. One is filter computers based on several criteria. One is remote office, computer, IP address, IP range. So I know a batch of computers. I know its IP. I know their IP range. So what I'm doing is I'm selecting IP range, which is from X computer to Y, X IP range to Y IP range. Enter that, and that computers will be filtered out. And you can also choose to exclude a particular target. Say I'm about to deploy Java updates and I don't want to keep my server updated with the latest Java updates. What I'm doing is I know the IP address of that particular server which needs to be excluded. So I'm selecting IP address here and mention that particular IP address, and that system will be excluded from this APD task, from this automated patch deployment task. Select next. So you'll be taken to the fourth and the final stage. So this is where, for a change, we guys will be notifying you regarding the tasks of this particular APD, whether it's a deployment status, failure, everything will be notified to you to your email ID. Select this. So enter your domain's email ID and don't forget to click on save. So this particular APD task automated patch deployment task will be created and saved. So this is all about automated patch deployment, guys. So we can recall the processes that we just discussed. So we saw first selecting applications, second one choosing deployment policy, and third one defining targets where we will get to choose what are all the systems that needed to be patched, and fourth one configuring notifications. So this is where I told you we discussed lastly that this is where we guys will notify you regarding the uh, task and its updates. So does your patching problem necessarily stop with automatic patch deployment? I don't think so, because there are many real world scenarios for which we have solution for that. The first one is, the what if scenario. So IT administrators usually get this. What if the patches that are about to deploy destabilize my whole environment? What if the patches fail? These are all the questions that you're not about to afford. You're not, supposed to get that questions. Sorry. So for that, we have a simple feature which is testing patches prior to bulk deployment, and then checking its stability if it's fine, and then we will be deploying it to the original environment. We call that as test and approve. Now I will quickly take you guys into what test and approve is. So it is found under the same deployment tab. So there is test and approve from the left tree. Click that. Select on add group. So we can see that this is very much similar to automate patch deployment, as it lists all the three major operating OS, like operating systems like Windows, Mac, and Linux. You get to select either one of the three. Then enter a group name, or you can create one. So you get Microsoft and third-party applications, again listed based on their severity, just as we saw in automate patch deployment. Then then we will be selecting the deployment policy for this particular task. Say I'm again going for the weekend policy. And this is how you notify enable the notification. My email ID is this, so I've enabled it, so each and every update of this particular task will be notified to me. So finally, please guys, pay your attention here. So finally, I have a small option here called automatically approve tested patches. If I select that, say I'm giving like 4 5 days. What it means is that the tested patches will be automatically approved after 5 days. So if you're coupling this with APD, this will be more effective, as APD fetches patches from the approved list. And you can never worry about patches destabilizing your environment, guys. So this is all about the test and approve feature. Next up, I have declining patches feature. So as I've told you, there might be several scenarios where some family of patches must be excluded to particular servers. So I'll show you in detail the whole process. And this is located under patches. You can see there's an option called decline patch. So what it does is it declines patches for a particular group of patches for the selected group. I'm selecting the target, or you can just create one. So I'm selecting Java family for Mac, Windows. What you can do is you can search for Java family, and everything will be listed down here. So don't forget to click on save, and this particular task will be saved. Then next up, we have pretty customized deployment policies. This is very much similar to the automated patch deployment. So the customized policy, a deployment policy is available under the deployment tab. We can see there's an option called deployment policy in the left tree. Click on that. So you'll be taken to a page where all the deployment policies will be listed. So the complete history will be listed, guys. So you can either select one or create a policy of your own. I'll teach you how to create your own policy. So as I've told to you, this is very much similar to APD. We can see four tasks here: deployment schedule, pre-deployment settings, user notification, and a reboot policy. So deployment schedule, what it does is that this is where you guys tell us what is a preferred time of deployment, preferred day, preferred week, preferred deployment window. Everything will be listed down here. You have to select them. Simple. And the second tab is pre-deployment settings. So you get two options. So waking systems before deploying, and one other feature which will be very much handy while deploying the patches. So yeah, automatically with computers before deployment, as I told you, this is the one. And second, we have downloading patches during subsequent refresh cycle. Third is user notification. So this is way you guys tell the user, the client user, about the process. So click on this. You can customize your own message, and you can even provide a notification timeout and select next. The final one is a reboot policy. So this is where you guys get to select if the system must be shut down or rebooted after the deployment is successful. This is all about the deployment policy, guys. So click on save, and this is completely it. You can give a name for it, and this is it. Finally, the last and the final part is critical vulnerability report. So we were discussing about Meltdown and Spectre, right? So we saw how updating with keeping ourselves updated with the latest happening would help ourselves prevent cyber attacks. I'm so sorry. So we have a separate view for this year. It is located under patches, critical vulnerabilities, and you will be listed with all the critical vulnerabilities that is out in the wild currently. So it is very simple, guys. Click on the patch ID, select the patch ID, and click on install patch, and all the problem regarding that particular vulnerability will be dealt. So you can enjoy your peace of mind. You can have a peace of mind. So this is our final tab. This we have come to the final portion of the webinar. So these are our offerings. So we have Desktop Central. As I told you, Desktop Central is a complete endpoint management solution, and Patch Manager Plus specializes in patching. We just saw what Patch Manager Plus can do, what its potential, and Desktop Central is available in MSP as well. So Patch Manager Plus is also available as a cloud version, guys. So if you're about to get a patching solution, please try that out. You can have an on-demand process, which will be very cool. And fourth and finally, we have Patch Connect Plus. So Patch Connect Plus is especially for the SCCM users who are who wants third party patching with SCCM. It is available in two editions, standard and professional. Standard is a catalogs edition, and professional edition comes with a separate console. So as I told you, we are still taking questions, and we will be open to questions for the next 5 to 10 minutes. So if you have any questions, please drop in via chat. We have an expert panel. They are still taking questions, and they will be able to help you out in real time. That being said, this is the survey part. So what do you think of this presentation? Is that good? Was it good? So please let us know. Actually, this will help us to grow each and every bit. So please shoot in your thoughts, and we will try our best to rectify it. So thank you so much for your patience and your time, and thank you so much for attending this month's webinar. See you next month, guys. Bye bye. And if you have any doubts, if you want to ping me personally, this is my mail ID. Please make a note of it. You can, ask some questions, doubts regarding the patches or the product or even Meltdown and Spectre. Please ask questions, and we'll be able to help you out. We will write you back in a day or two. Thank you so much. Thank you.